Hi guys, welcome to CodeBode. So in this video, we are going to make a very simple and attractive login page using HTML and CSS. This page contains an image, a logo, some input fields for username and password, and also a button and a link. This is what you usually see on any login page. So let's get started with the video. For this first, we'll make a folder which will have our code. You can create this folder anywhere. Now let's go inside this folder and using a command prompt we'll open this folder in VS Code. Now you can see this folder open in VS Code. So let's create our first HTML file here. We'll call it login.html. Let's open this file and we'll create a HTML boilerplate code, that is the HTML template, ready for us by typing HTML5. VS Code automatically generates this code for you if you type HTML5. If you want to understand the basics of HTML, please check out the video in description box or in the link that you see on the top right corner of your screen. Now that we have HTML template ready, let's open this in browser. So this is our blank page. Now let's start writing our code. We'll first change the title of the page. So there you go. Now the title is login. Now for the body or the main login page, let's start by creating input fields in the body. Whenever you have an input field, then we usually use a form. Here inside the form tag, we'll have two input fields, one for username, one for password. So let's do that. The first input field is going to be a text and a placeholder for that will be username. And the second can also be the text, but we are going to make it password, which will hide the text that is being typed. So again, placeholder here will be password. Let's check how this looks on the browser. Now, since we have not added any styles on this page, this looks like plain input text boxes. Now, we'll come to styles later, but first let's create button on this page. So for that, we'll use input type button, and the value attribute is used to give the text that will display on the button. So we are going to write submit in the value attribute. And if you want to call a function on the click of the button, we write it in onClick attribute. So we pass the function name to onClick attribute. But here we are simply designing a page, so let's remove this for now. Now that we have input fields and buttons, let's create the magic of designing. For that, we are going to create sections. That is, this is the page that we want to design. So let's divide this page into sections. This is the main section. Then comes the card section. After that, we are going to have two sections inside the card, one for the image, one for the actual form. And inside the actual form, also we can have a section for logo and the rest of the form. So it depends on how you want to design, but it's a good idea to use different div tags for different sections so that you can easily change or modify the designs of your complete section. So our first div is going to be the main div. I'm going to write a div tag and give it a class name as main. We're going to use class names for styling here. You can also use IDs. After that, we are going to have one more div which is going to be for the outer card. So it has borders and everything. So for that, we are going to use card. Inside card, we have two sections, one for image, one for form. So let's create two divs for that. Inside the first section, we'll put image, and inside the second section, we'll have one more subsection separate for the logo and form. You can skip this subsection and directly add logo also. That will also work. So I have added one div for subsection of the form. Now let's put our form tag and the input field inside the subsection. So this is how our layout is going to look. If I refresh this, there is no difference because styles are not applied yet. We have just created the sections. Before styling, let's add the images to our form. So first is going to be this big left side image. So we are going to put the images in the assets folder. You can put it directly inside this folder, but a good practice is to maintain your media into a separate folder and then access it in your HTML code. So we will put it in the assets folder. Now that we have images in the assets folder, let's use it in our code. So it goes like image tag. Source or the src is the attribute which holds the location of the image. Here is the location of the assets folder. So we are going to give slash assets slash login.png or whatever your file name is. We'll also use alt attribute that specifies the text that we want to show when the image is not available, and then a class name for styling. Now if we refresh, oh, see, we have image on the whole page. This is not what we need, right? We need to fix this, that is reduce the height and width of the image so it fits inside our div. So for image, I'm going to give height and width as 100%. But still the image remains always, but still the image remains same because we have not specified the dimensions of the div tags. So to do that, for the card div, I'm going to give display flex. Flex means it will be more responsive and it will let all the flexible items, that is the child items, fit inside this, and it will make it of the same length irrespective of what content is there. So it's a good idea to make your outer div as flex. So once we give flex style, you can see that our image fits inside the div. But this image is enlarged and the other section looks a little small, so it's time to give 100% width to both these sections so that they look equal. So with this, the whole content fits on the screen as we want. But this is moved to the left side of your screen. So to bring it in the center or the middle of the screen, we can use margins. So for that, to the main div, I'm going to use margin 50px, let's say, and 100px. So 50 will be from top and bottom, and left and right 100px we have given. But this is not quite in the middle, so we can use the inspect element tool and adjust it. So finally our margins would be this. Now remember, margins are not the ideal way to do it, but I have intentionally used it here because this web page we're not making responsive yet. But if you want to make some responsive web pages, that is, web pages that will fit in all devices, it's a good idea to use Bootstrap framework for it. So Bootstrap does a lot of things for you and it helps you make your web pages more responsive. We'll learn how to design this web page using Bootstrap in the upcoming videos. But for this video sake, we're going to use margins to place this card in the middle of your web page. Now we have given the margins, but we need to make this card pop up. So for that, we can use the style box shadow. I'm going to give borders top, right, and bottom 2px each. And let's give one color. White is not quite visible, so some other shade here. And you can see that with this, the card pops out a bit. So box shadow is the way to do that. Now, since we are done with the card, let's focus on the right side section. That is the first thing, there is logo. So I'm going to add a logo here. Same, the source is going to be from assets folder and alt text and a class to it. Let's refresh. Oh, it's not JPG, I think it's PNG. So we made a mistake here. Let's change it. So here we have our logo. But again, this is quite big because we have not given the height and width. We are going to give height and width again 100% each. 100% will make sure that it adjusts itself on all devices properly. After logo comes our text, that is sign into your account. So let's use H3 tag for that. You can use font tag also. So I'm using a H3 tag. Inside that I'm putting my text. For styling, I'm using a class description, and inside description, we are going to give styles, font size, and also margin bottom because the input elements should leave some space from the text. Okay, so the text is also done. Now let's focus on the main elements, that is input elements. For input elements, first let's give the width as 100%, so it takes the complete line. Then a little border around. We'll give some height, margins, etc. So it looks more proper. Okay, so this is how it is looking, but we need some spaces around the elements. So in the subsection, we are going to give some padding from left and right. What padding does is it leaves spaces around the elements. So if you give padding in the subsection, all the elements inside it are going to leave a space around it that we mention here. So we are going to provide padding here. So this is for input types, but when you focus on the input types, you need a different style. So for that, we are going to give a different style when focused. So you write it like class name colon focus, and inside that we'll give the styles when you focus. So that is going to be the border color, that is going to be different, like bluish shade. Then outline we don't need, so outline will mark as none. And also again a little box shadow so that it pops out. So we have a different style when it's like this and when it's focused. Now the other thing pending is the button. So let's give class to it. We'll use some class name and use the same class name to style it. Time to change the background color of the button, which is going to be a greenish shade. Then the border radius for more round cornered borders. Font size needs to be increased because it was too small. We'll also make it bold. On the green background, black won't be a good color, so let's change the font color to white. But remember, for font color, our styling attribute is just color. Some margin from the bottom is needed. Okay, and we also need to give full width to the button, and we'll change the border color from black to something else because black doesn't look good. So here you go. This is how we change the styles for button. One last thing now, let's add a forgot password link with a tag. Class here is link. So for styling, initially the cursor, we are going to make it pointer. Pointer indicates hand cursor when you take around the cursor on the link. Color is a bluish shade for the link. We need a margin bottom here too. And by default, A tags are underlined, but we don't want that underlined, so we'll use text decoration none. So this is how it looks. We need a change in font size also. And we need a different style when we hover over the link. So for that, we are going to use link colon. On hover, it is going to be a different style. So hover. And we use here a darker shade for color, and we'll mark text underline when you hover over it. So it's going to be text decoration underline. So that's it. This is how we have simply designed a beautiful login page. In the upcoming videos, we are going to see more attractive web pages. So stay tuned and subscribe to our channel, and also like and share this video. Thank you.